Hello, my name is Samir Mohammed. I am part of the class for mobile forensics. I'm doing this as part of the teacher's class, which is Brian Hill. And this, uh, due to the nature of the topics, this I have to say a disclaimer that this video is solely for the additional educational purposes, and that I am not liable for any damages that could be caused using these demonstrations. Um, so this is what this video is going to be about: is social engineering and the art of the scam. Sorry about the video layout, but I couldn't get some things to work. But I will go in deep depth today about social engineering. Um, so social engineering is a very interesting topic. It affects us every day. It's how people have been doing things throughout the lives of many, many people around the world. Social engineering has evolved in many ways over the centuries. It used to be simple scams, people scamming each other. It's just the basics of humanity. Nowadays, it's all about the technology and mobile devices and computer devices, where most of it is done. Um, social What is social engineering, to be exact? Social engineering is the act of deceiving and manipulating individuals into sharing confidential information for fraudulent purposes. So, making money and trying to steal things, or spying on people, or trying to get access, as the chart says right there. Um, it makes up to like 97% of cyber attacks, and it uses like various different techniques, such as like phishing, baiting, and tailgating. And it occurs on mobile phones, computers, laptops, in person, and online, even in phone calls. It's mostly on the biggest ones are usually done by phone calls, and that's like the whole robo scamming movement going crazy right now. That's been a problem where you get similar phone numbers to yours every now and then. The approach is usually either human based or computer based. Usually the computer based ones are performed using devices, so like emails, keyloggers, session hijacking, trojans, things like that. So it would, like, someone calling you would be technically interacting, so that would be more of a human based, I would say, because someone's trying to impersonate someone. So like usually gets calls about like, oh, we have your car in the impound, oh, you didn't pay your bill or whatever, and people are actually, it works pretty well, and that's the reason why they still happen, because those people are making money off people, and it's not a great thing. And yeah, the impact is insane. If it's an enterprise one, usually what can happen is like there's data loss can happen, and then usually what happens is reputations and the financial costs and things like that, and you have to go to court, and all these people asking for for money. So the best thing for them is it's kind of hard to like even maneuver away from that, since you have to be out front, and it's scary, I guess, since like if you get a data breach or something like that, I guess that wouldn't count as like a more of a social engineer, but an example where it would be is like someone calls to pretend to be myself for like a phone account that I have with my phone provider, something like that. Individuals, it's usually really bad. You can lose your social security number, credit card numbers. Like, people, if they get their social security, your name, and where you live, they're able to just open credit cards and buy stuff. And that's like a common thing that happens with people: identity theft. And it takes like forever, like years, to like even recover. I've heard stories of people having to do insane things and things like that, and it's like it really hits the emotional heart part of the people, and it's not a really cool thing at all. The types of social engineering that are attacks are usually put into these four categories, I would say. We got the phishing, and then we got baiting, pretexting, and then tailgating, and those have like separate types of styles. Phishing is usually baiting people. Well, it's more of like you sent out like phishing usually is like standby, more of a standby, looking over the shoulder, that kind of stuff. Baiting is usually you sending messages to people that are bait, basically just like, oh shit, ooh, let me click on that one. That one might be interesting. Oh boy. And then pretext is usually the ones where you get like pop-up windows, like especially this one's more like the ones that are you see a lot, where there's a pre-done message sent to you by a robocall, or another one would be Skype messages. Back in like 2010s, early 2010s to 2015, I used to be on Skype a lot. Skype used to send bots. There's bots everywhere. These like bots trying to sell it, trying to be someone. And I used to play around with these bots, but I never gave them information just to see how much like pretext has been done for them, just as a joke. Because I've grown up on the internet as a kid, from like 2003, like kindergarten, all the way from there, and it's been an interesting evolution of technology ever since dial-up and stuff like that. It's been interesting. The phishing is usually done by there's phishing, whale phishing, and then spear phishing, and then usually some have to do more with the business emails. And the business emails, that one is a really powerful one. I'm not going to lie to you. Usually what happens is someone gets the email, replies to it, and suddenly it's infecting the whole network, and it gets crazy. Usually it looks like a regular business email and people can't tell, and then the only way you could tell is by going to email headers and checking that stuff. So it's pretty dangerous. Some of them have to do with a phone, with actual voice, and looking for responses and trying to grab some information off people. Primary purpose is to obtain personal ID, social security numbers, date of birth, and stuff like that. And usually it looks valid. Like, you cannot tell the difference. That's all the logos, the signatures, the format. It's literally been created to be a real, like, fake. It's like you can't tell. It's like maybe if you were paying super attention, but it just looks like another plain old business email. Spear phishing usually so this was interesting. So these are small attacks, all right, but then they're just massive damage. So usually they're targeting a certain population. A good example is the CEOs, because here's one that I've heard of. So apparently some CEOs, not the CEOs themselves, but there's, you know how they wire cash over to some companies are for example, a management has been asked to wire cash for a sale somewhere, but the person is using the phone number of the person. And then here's another one. They use, on top of that, they use a phone number, spoofing, all right? And then they also use the voice, because that exists now. I forget what it's called. Where it's the person's voice sounds exactly like them. You couldn't tell. And it's looking for the big fish. So that usually has a high cost, to be real. But most of these are usually done specifically at bigger targets, because it would be the least suspected, most likely. That's what I think. Executives in high phishing is voice phishing. It's just using telephones, calling people, spoofing their phone numbers, and pretending to be authority figures. This is the basic one that you see a lot on phone calls and emails, kind of stuff. Yeah, and they usually look for like ID numbers and things like that, and trying to gain access to things. Pretexting is someone presenting themselves as someone else by impersonating some other people, usually fake identities, creating new identities, and all those kind of things. and trying to create a trusting relationship before going for it. So it's like pre-planned. It's like it's a layout that they have to follow and make sure they perfectly follow it. Baiting is usually it's literal actual bait. So they pretend they make it seem normal. This one's more of a difficult one. It's like physical bait, putting flash drives laying around, curiosity, and this is harder to do, I think, because you need actual hardware and someone who actually is there looking for it. So there has to be a physical person, which I'm guessing is much rarer and more difficult because you actually have to work there. Like, yeah. Social engineering is super useful to criminals. Criminals, it's just easy. Like, you just trick people and you get their money, you get their information, and you can go do things. And it's bad. And people take advantage of things that are easy. You can send mass messages, just a mass campaign. You can hide yourself, kind of, if you're smart enough. You can hide yourself. And then uneducated public. That's where it's at. You got to know your target, and it's bad taking advantage of other people, but people do it, and then you get money. It's just how it works. Usually sounding authentic is the best way to do this, and fear is powerful. This is how they usually get people, is by fear and false claims that you'll be arrested. I get so many of those calls. I know they're fake because they wouldn't call me about that. Someone would knock on my door and be like, "Hey, we have something about you," or something. So I don't take it serious at all. And they use usually eye-catching things, something scary to freak you out. And then, as I mentioned, deep fakes earlier. The threat of deep fakes, it's a little bit early now, and it's expensive and uses a lot of computing power. But the power of artificial intelligence, such as Google's Duo, I don't know what it's called, but they did show an on-stage representation of what the voice. It recognizes human voice patterns, since like the and makes it sound like it's a legit person. So that technology is like hidden behind, and it hasn't come out. And there's I guess they're doing that to not give the social engineering community powerful tools, because that'd be scary. And it's usually used for high level positions because it makes sense over there, and plus it's expensive. It's important to recognize how people are taking advantage of people. You gotta make sure to protect yourself. They'll send you emails, and those emails might seem kind of out of context, and you usually don't get financial institutions sending you requests for account information. And if you get some funny messages like that, just go to a physical branch, talk to them, ask them if there's anything wrong, or call an official number from their website that's not given to you by the email, and speak to someone from an official website where there's linking and everything, so you don't get scammed. Favorite times of the year: natural disasters. I guess epidemics right now, the one we're in, Corona, is an example of perfect one. There have been social engineering that are not in mobile, but physical social engineering. There's people pretending to be testing for the Corona. They knock on your door, they ask you questions, write your name, information, and then even it's getting to the point where they do that to commit robberies. It's actually pretty scary, and people take advantage of things like that. And it's usually when there's like bad things happening, like not holidays, but like when there's like high traffic, and then people have their guard down, and there's like some economic issues happening. To keep yourself safe, what you need to do is be suspicious of unsolicited phone calls, visits, email messages from individuals asking for account information or about other employees. don't respond to those people. Tell them to go to someone else and call them, because that is not what you want to do. Do not provide any personal information. All right, don't reveal personal or financial information. That's just how it works. Make sure you install and maintain antivirus software from Trojans. Sometimes there's hidden things in emails that are bad, and email filters, spam folders, and everything. Using verification, two-factor verification is one of the best things to use, such as VPNs. Perfect. Those are the things that would be needed to stay away from this. So social engineering is a very powerful tool, and the fact that it's dangerous to society should be a priority for us to fix. It's slowly becoming a widespread issue due to robocalls. Robocalls are probably like the biggest one that are just annoying. You just get random phone calls, random text messages about people you don't know, and that might be enough. And the FCC has been investigating robocalls, and some companies and cell providers have been introducing call verification and things like that as to limit that. And lately I haven't been getting that many. Maybe they're starting to do some things, or it's just that there's a problem, and that's fine. This is about it, and this was my individual video, and thank you for watching.